Hello, savvy entrepreneur. It's Tash, Corbin here, and welcome to another episode of the Heart-Centered Business Podcast. This is episode number 289, which means you can find all the relevant links and show notes for today's episode over at tashcorbin.com/289. In today's episode, I'm going to share with you the best course platforms for first-time course creators. So if you have been thinking about putting together your first online course or program, and you're wondering about the technology and how you're going to manage it all and how to compare different platforms, this is the episode for you. Let's dive in. I'm Tash Corbin, and this is the Heart-Centered Business Podcast. So when it comes to having hosting for your online course, I see that there are kind of 4 different levels or layers of course hosting that we need to take into consideration when you're selecting your technology platform. And one of the things that I think a lot of people do when they're first creating and launching online courses is they over-engineer the technology before they've got proof of concept. So what I like to recommend to people is to use the simplest technological solution available to you first and foremost, so that you can get that proof of concept, ensure that people are going to be actually purchasing the program, and you've got a little bit more of a high touch feel for people in the first 1 or 2 rounds of that course or program. So the first layer or the first level of course hosting would be to use an all-in-one free solution, such as hosting it all in a Facebook community. And the tools and settings and options available in Facebook groups these days make it super easy for you to host a course in there. Now, of course, that's not going to take care of payment processing, being able to email your course members and those sorts of things, but there are some really simple ways that you can have that set up. And then when people join, they are invited to join the community, and everything happens in the community from there on in. That's actually how I facilitate the Heart-Centered Business Accelerator, which is my highest ticket product that I have for people to purchase in a group program. People are able to purchase on a sales page that's on my website, and that is linked through to a payment processing. I use Kartra for all of my emails as well as hosting, but you can use something as simple as Thrivecart or Samcart. You can even just have a PayPal button on that page, and people can choose to pay with their PayPal account or with a card using a PayPal button. So there's some really simple ways for you to be able to have the information about the course, a way for people to pay for it, and then on the confirmation page, once the payment has been processed, you can have the link to the Facebook community and a form for them to get the email updates. Nice and simple. Or you can integrate, if you're using a cart like Thrivecart or Samcart or any kind of checkout, in most cases you can integrate that so that when they do purchase, they're automatically tagged in your email marketing system. So that takes care of the payment, being able to email people, and then getting them into the space where the course is hosted. And then using the guides function in Facebook communities, you can upload modules, you can upload files, you can upload your workbooks, you can do Facebook Lives, you can have a link to live calls on Zoom if you want to use Zoom for live calls. You can even do your calls using Facebook Live. So you can have them as a Q&A where people just type into a Facebook Live. So there's lots of things that you can do in a Facebook community as a way for you to facilitate that group program. Now, there are some big benefits for doing this as a first-time course creator. Number one, there's lots of connection and engagement. So you're going to be engaging with those people taking the course. They're going to feel like they have access to you to ask questions, get support. So you're going to maximize people's completion rates, and you're also going to maximize people's feedback to you and understanding where they might get stuck and how you need to refine the process of that program as you move forward. Whenever I create new group programs, I deliver most of the first components live so that I'm getting that real-time feedback. If I have pre-recorded modules in a new program, I have lots of live calls when we first get people to start going through it. And we do it as a live round so that everyone's going through it together. Most people are going to therefore complete, and we can ensure that if there's something that's not clear in those modules that I've created, or people are getting stuck on something, we can address it straight away rather than sending people off to go and do a course. I never speak to them again, and no one ever finishes it, and I don't know why. So for me, course completion is something I take very seriously. I want to ensure that I maximize course completion because I'm taking responsibility as the creator to ensure that I'm creating a process or a program that people are able to complete very easily and that they're going to get those results. So that's a big one for me. So really, level 1 is run it in a Facebook group. When it comes to hosting a course, there are a few things that you want to think about, whether you want to have them available to people or not. So for example, having a space where people can talk to each other and ask you questions. I think that's really important in a online course or program these days. It's generally considered like a baseline requirement unless you're very clear it's self-study and there's no live component, there's no supported component. So I think that a Facebook group really ticks those boxes. And then also somewhere where you can put all the course materials and keep them relatively safe from people copying them, stealing them, repurposing them in other spaces. I mean, these days, it doesn't matter what software or what protections you use to stop people being able to download videos or reshare workbooks or those sorts of things. People find a way. There's so many workarounds and all those sorts of things. And from my perspective, I think it's if I create those good boundaries, if I make it really clear from the start, and if I do a good job of ensuring that people see that the program is for the people who've invested in it, and that's their reward for investing in it, is that they get that access to it, and that, you know, other people who haven't invested, like sharing the content with those people isn't necessarily in line with our values and ethics, then for me, I feel like I've done a good job. And at the end of the day, I've had people come in and join my group programs, download every module, and then ask for a refund. I know who they are. I know what they've done. And those people aren't my ideal clients, but I also don't want to put a lot of time and energy into focusing on those people when it's less than 0.5%, right? It would be even less. It'd be less than 0.1% of people who come into my programs who download all the videos and then ask for a refund. And I have processes in place now. When people first join, they don't necessarily get access to everything straight away. They get access to more than enough to keep them busy during that refund window, but then other parts of that program are released later on. So you can even do that in a Facebook group as well, right? You can have just the first 3 modules are available in the guides when people first join, and then subsequent modules are put up after that. So a really simple way. It stops you from fighting the technology and over engineering when you haven't actually got a proven product yet, and it allows you to get on with the business of teaching and supporting people to get the outcome that you're here to deliver. So that's layer number 1. Layer number 2 is to use low-cost plugins or free plugins on your own website. So there are some plugins that you can use on an existing website. If you have a WordPress website or a Squarespace website, there are some plugins that you can use that are fairly low cost. There are some free ones on WordPress as well, where you can actually build out your course on your website and have members set up so that people can get their own email and password as a login, and then you can control what content people have. Now, that to me is a little techie, and I've used those types of plugins and platforms before. Some of them are a little easier to use than others. I found that the easier to use it was, the more expensive it was. And once it was starting to get more expensive, it was made more sense for me to just use a standalone all-in-one tool. But there are some that are available for WordPress that are still used to this day, and a lot of people still do recommend them. And then that way, usually with those types of plugins, it also includes the checkout, the membership management, so people having a login, their name and their password so that they can go and log in, and then also being able to drip feed out content, but you preload it all in and just have the triggers. So you can do a little bit more automation with those sorts of things. And if that's something that's important to you in the delivery, rather than doing it live and a little bit manually the first time around, then that can be a very viable option. Now, one of the things I will say is a lot of people freak out when they think about the more manual option of running it in a Facebook community or something along those lines, because they're worried that they're going to get 400 people join, and then how do we go through all of their membership applications and all of those sorts of things. Now, if you're getting 400 people join and you're overwhelmed, you can hire a team member and very quickly and easily train them up to help you with the admin of that community. And in most cases, you are letting your fear of success stop you from actually just putting it all together and getting it out there, because you're worried, what's going to happen if I am too successful? You can cross that bridge when you get to it. And I know lots of people who have initially had their program just inside a Facebook group, really manual workaround. They got so many sales come through. They hired someone to move it all onto a platform because they had that cash flow and the proof of concept. They knew it was going to go into a platform. It was very successful. So you can cross that bridge when you come to it. So level 1, run it in a Facebook group. Level 2, low cost or free plugins on your existing website. Level 3 is course-specific platforms such as Thinkific or Teachable. Now, level 3, I would say, for me, is a level for most people I recommend that you skip. And the reason why I recommend that you skip it is because for most of those platforms that only do the course hosting and purchasing, your ability to email non-course people is limited. And so therefore, you need to also have a separate mailing system. And there are level 4 programs that are all in one, that are fully integrated, that are relatively similar in pricing or cheaper when you add up the cost of an email platform like ActiveCampaign and a course hosting platform like Thinkific. And you have to have both, because the capacity to email, you can't have your full list on Thinkific. And so level 3, I wanted to put it in there because people always ask me about Thinkific and Teachable. I was on Thinkific for quite a long time, but 1, they changed their pricing structure, so it became way, way, way more expensive for me. And 2, with Thinkific, I found that the email part of the Thinkific platform was terrible. And so I would have to have all these zaps and plugins and things going so that when someone purchased on Thinkific, they were on my list and tagged and dealt with in a certain way inside ActiveCampaign. And then it was in ActiveCampaign that we would send all of those emails so that we had reporting and numbers and stats and could resend to people who hadn't opened it and see how many people had opened things and all those sorts of things. So the level 3 type of platforms, for most people, I don't actually recommend. If you're going to go to a course hosting platform, I feel like you might as well jump into something like Kajabi or Kartra or something that's all in one. And then you're not paying for separate subscriptions and tying things together and then discovering after 30 days that your Zap stopped working or your if this then that trigger wasn't working anymore and you've missed a bunch of data, which happened to us several times. So I had a lot of frustrations with having sort of tied together a bunch of different systems. And ultimately, when I moved to Kartra, which is what I use now, I ended up going from about $430 to $500 per month for all my little systems to $125 per month for Kartra, which replaced all of those systems. So for me, Kartra actually replaced Thinkific, ActiveCampaign, Zendesk, as well as some other like plugins and little things that we needed to use to get those systems talking to each other. And with all of those subscriptions, I ended up, it was much, much more financially viable for me to go into Kartra, which was an all-in-one platform. And I really, really enjoy using Kartra. I think it's a great platform. I know lots of people use Kajabi as well, and I really enjoy Kajabi as a student. So I think both of those are really good platforms. So level 4 is going into an all-in-one that takes care of your mailing list as well as your course platform, as well as your checkouts, as well as your help desks, as well as some of them even do calendar integrations and invoicing and all sorts of things. So that is the sort of the big version that you could then start using to do your course hosting. Now, when it comes to your first ever course or membership or program, I recommend using the platform and the level of platform that works most effectively for you to get it out quickly. That's my number one priority, is you being able to set it up, get it out, and actually test, will people purchase this program? And then when they purchase the program, do they finish it and do they get results? That is what is critical for your first course launch. And so if you don't have tech support behind the scenes, or you don't have the budget or the confidence to dive into an ongoing subscription to a course hosting platform, then what I would recommend you do is just start with hosting it all in a Facebook group. Honestly, that would be my recommendation. And if you have a team member or a VA, or you've got the budget and your challenge is actually time, and you need, you're happy to invest to have the solution be very time effective for you and your team take care of all the tech for you, then choose the option that gets you that. So that might be going straight to an all-in-one platform. That might be using a WordPress plugin or something on your website, or using one of those course hosting things. Now, as you may notice in this podcast episode, I'm not diving into the detail of each of the different tech platforms, because for me, Kajabi, Kartra, same, right? Thinkific, Teachable, same. You can go and read reviews of why people have picked one over the other, but in most cases, it's just people trying to convince you to purchase the one that they've got because they're an affiliate for that one. I'm an affiliate for Kartra, and if you want to use Kartra, yeah, come and use my affiliate link. Great. But at the end of the day, whether you decide to use Kartra or Kajabi, I'm not attached to. Use the thing that works best for you, that you have the most ease with using. Maybe your VA is really skilled in using Kajabi, and they're already up to speed on using everything in that platform. It would make sense for you to then use Kajabi, because there's going to be less of a learning curve for your team. And your job is not to be the tech expert. It's your team's job to do those things. So at the end of the day, it's really about weighing up what are your decision points here. Number 1 is going to be ease. Number 2 is going to be investment in terms of income, money. And then number 3 is going to be investment in terms of time. And so which is the most important for you? What is appropriate for the stage of business that you're at? Do you have proof of concept? Do you know that this thing is definitely going to be still going for the next year to come? Then you might dive into something that's a little more, level 2 to level 4. But ultimately, it's really easy to run your course the first time through a Facebook community. And with the way that all of those functions and settings and guides and everything are all set up these days, it's a bit of a no-brainer to me. Just do it that way for the first one. Once you know that it's going to be viable, then you can go and invest in some of those more comprehensive platforms if you want to. So that is my advice to you. If you have any questions about making decisions on those course platforms, or want to continue the conversation, of course, please come over to the Heart-Centered Soul-Driven Entrepreneurs Facebook community. Use #podcast and tell me you've been listening to episode number 289 and ask any questions or share any insights that you've gained from today's episode. And if you'd like to ask another question, something that you would like me to address on the podcast, make sure you come over to tashcorbin.com/question and pop your question in there. Until next time, I cannot wait to see you shine. Big love from me, and bye for now. Would you like more tips, tools, and resources to help you grow your heart-centered business? Head to tashcorbin.com today.